talk to women for a minute. All women, black women, white women, Hispanic, Native American, doesn't matter. All women. And what I want to talk about is some of you are voting your way back into a second or third class citizenship. And here's why I'm saying this. In the state of North Carolina, the Republican candidate that will be running for governor actually stated that he longs for the days when women could not vote. Now, there may be some additional context required for that, but the fact that he even brought that up and it came out of his mouth is troubling. What has happened to women in the last couple of years? You've lost rights, okay? Who else has lost rights? Minorities have lost rights with the voting uh, rights acts being weakened because states can just pass voting laws without review by the Justice Department. Women have lost rights with Roe v. Wade repeal. Now, multiple states are even trying to ban, or some have basically banned abortion outright. And what I want to talk to you about on this voting issue, it's a little complicated, but it's the reason why racial history in the United States needs to be really taught instead of being banned from being taught. So in my book, One Eighth of a Man, I'm going to read a couple of passages regarding voting that should set off some alarm bells, particularly for women. And this is a complicated thing because we had the suffragette movement where, you know, women gained the right to vote. But there was a lot of subtleties and racial divisions in that movement. It wasn't for all women. And there was also some other things going on there. So I'm going to read this part here. The views of the first woman U.S. Senator, Rebecca Latimer Felton, serves as an example of the attitudes towards black men. Looking back on an age noted for its intolerance and racism, Felton's judgments about African Americans were especially vicious. Felton, like many white Southerners at the time, promulgated the unfounded, virulent, and racist belief that black men were more likely to commit sexual violence against white women. Making baseless assertions, she blamed the use of alcohol to purchase the votes of black men for what she said was an increase in threats to white women. Her views drew national attention, which she said in an 1897 address, "If it takes lynching to protect women's dearest possession from drunken, ravening human beasts, then I say lynch 1,000 a week." After black men gained the right to vote, Anna Howard Shaw, a leader in the women's right to vote movement, stated, "You have put the ballot in the hands of your black men, thus making them political superiors of white women. Never before in the history of the world have men made former slaves the political masters of their former mistresses." Okay, former mistresses. Okay, let me break that down. What she's referring to are slave women that were raped and sexually abused by the slave masters. Um, Calling that a mistress type relationship is far flung. But basically, there was anger towards former slave women who their owners went out and had sex with them. They couldn't resist, they were being raped. But that is part of the division that has come in, even in the right to vote movement for women. There was this divide. Basically, it was a white right to vote movement for women. And I think that has continued to keep a line where white women tend to move more towards what's better for their race in voting than what's better for their gender. That needs to change because in the original Constitution, there's no right to vote. It became a states' right issue. And here's what happened. Unfortunately, leaving election control to individual states led to unfair voting practices in the U.S. At first, white men with property were the only Americans routinely permitted to vote. President Andrew Jackson, champion of frontiersmen, helped advance the political of rights who did not own property. And by 1860, most white men without property were enfranchised. But African Americans, women, Native Americans, non English speakers, and citizens between the age of 18 and 21 had to fight for the right to vote in this country. Women, you are voting yourselves back to the condition of where men only could vote. You've already voted yourself into a situation that if you are pregnant, then in many states, your body is now controlled by the state as far as your reproductive health care decisions. In one state, they've even put out, I don't know if it's actually in law yet or a proposal to go into law, that if you are pregnant, you cannot get divorce from your husband while you are pregnant. Even if the whole thing's falling apart, then that means you not only can't decide on your health status, you can't even decide on your relationship status. So you're voting yourself backwards in favor of other policies that you say you support, and that's why you vote for the MAGA, Trump, whatever, candidates that are put out. I say you need to have a sit down and you need to have a come to Jesus with yourself and figure out, am I hurting myself and everyone like me, female, by voting this way? Because it seems to be taking you backwards. And it could be taking you backwards to that land where um, this MAGA Republican candidate in North Carolina says he longs for.